So you can see that I'm still here, and then Hosana is up and running, looking at some of the animals, maybe from far away. And on behalf of the team, I would like to apologize for the inconveniences due to some technical problems. But we are back now, and we are back with our little chief. You can see that he is now up. Maybe he is listening to something coming from that direction. Now I can see that the bellies are not full. It's showing me that he did not manage to catch anything last night. So now let's cross over to Steve, who's got some monkeys.
Well, you could almost call them monkeys, and these are indeed baboons. We do apologize for the technical difficulties that have been happening this morning. But, well, this baboon doesn't look too bothered by it. Here comes a nice yawn. Oh, little yawn. Now, I was just saying to Gert, we don't often see baboons actually on Vuyatela. The Muwati drainage system, which is the most prominent one in the area, isn't really... Oh, a little bit of disciplinary action happening there. It doesn't have the tallest of trees. It's got some really nice trees, but there's no permanent water. Well, baboons like to be close to permanent water, with tall habitat trees like these ones. Being an omnivore and very similar to us, they escape the night and they escape predators. We hide ourselves in the house, and well, they go up a tree for the evening. Between baboons and elephants, I'm not sure which I enjoy watching more, because there's so many similarities in behavior between how you could sort of relate to humans in how elephants behave. And, well, of course, when I look at baboons playing, I often think of friends of mine and my older brother. You can see there's a female who's in estrus, or coming into estrus. Her bottom is quite swollen and red, an indication that we know that baboons are able to see color. The female comes into estrus, she is quite prominent and easily visible, and the males, well, they often will follow her around. She's going through. Capel, baboons are very naughty animals. They're basically very similar to us, to be honest, and we're all very naughty. Yes, we are. I'm going to move up a little bit, see if we can get a few more. It's often really nice to see some of the youngsters when they're together and when they're playing, because they are always up to mischief. You can see a couple at the back there that are coming out of the tree. And they're and an enormous... I'm just going to try and move up here. Let's have to stop there. So maybe if I stop moving, we'll be able to... Baboons essentially learn a lot, and there's a lot of... Well, they learn very quickly, and they learn that living out in this environment is a real tricky place to be in the dry season. But when it comes to human habitation, we have got waste, we've got refuse, we've got food, which in the dry season is well enjoyed by baboons. And once they've learnt how to beg like that, we've actually got a couple on the tree over here as well. Once they've learnt how... they saw me, saw them, and now they've jumped down. But once they've learnt how to scavenge food or steal food from our waste or from our kitchens or break doors open, whatever it might be, well, then they can become quite a nuisance. All over the Cape, all over the southern African Cape, baboons are a real problem in areas, but we can't blame them. You know, they are just they've learnt some bad behavior, if you avoid them or you prevent them from getting access to food and fruit and your waste, well, invariably they don't become a problem. But once they've learned how to, just like someone who's learned how to beg, a human who's learned how to beg, well, it becomes very easy. It becomes much easier than finding a job, should I say. And so, well, they'll just continue to do so. Just stop up here, maybe we get these in the gap. Ashlyn, oh, what an interesting question. I don't know what evolutionary advantage there might be to the female getting all red and swollen in the back there. Basically, what we believe is it indicates, from an evolutionary point of view, I have no idea what it might mean. It just means that it's quite obvious, it stands out, and, well, she obviously gets, well, the males get very interested. It's almost like wearing lipstick, I suppose, or making herself very available. It's an obvious sign to the males that, well, she's interested. But very interesting from an evolutionary point of view, I don't really know. But they are actually quite relaxed today. Most of the time, when you go, here's a little oopsie, he's not so relaxed. There's a little youngster off to the right of me here. Now, baboons, just like us, they see forward, and it's all about eye contact. All about eye contact. And if you look at a baboon with the side of your eyes, sort of like I'm looking at you now, it's fine. But as soon as you look at the baboon like that, they realize, oh, I've been spotted, and they run off. It's just like with you, you know, when you don't look at someone, you're not giving them any direct challenge, so to speak. And so you'll often have youngsters getting quite inquisitive and coming towards you and looking, but as soon as you look at them, they run away. Unfortunately, human-wildlife conflict is a reality. And baboons across the continent, well, they are in a battle with humans. And, well, we were not the only homo species for a long time. We outcompeted the others, and, well, in human-wildlife conflict, baboons and monkeys are just the other spectrum. We obviously will be stronger and will outcompete them because they want to steal our food, competing for our food. But anyway, an animal that wouldn't mind sneaking up on one of these baboons, and the reason they hang out in troops, Sydney is with the little chief.
Please don't get surprised. I am not alone at the sighting. Some other vehicles has just arrived at the moment, and I am still with the little chief. After you have just seen the baboons, which is also one of the diet for this kind of big cats. Leopards, they do like baboons. I have seen a leopard eating a baboon before, and I have seen a leopard cornered by a troop of baboons. That was a very big fight. Baboons can be very dangerous when it comes to these big predators. So I can see that now Hosanna has just moved to the other side of the termite mound. So for me to give you the best visual, I'm going to have to rearrange the position and get to the other side so that you can enjoy this leopard in full. So let's just go around and see if we can see him better from the other angle. So he's just here. It's not going to take much time for me to get to the other side. So I don't think he's going anywhere. He is pretty much relaxed. But only the body is relaxed. I can see that investigations are still going on. David, the leopards, they do make kills during the day. So these animals, they are nocturnals. They are much more active. Oh, lovely. Look at that. They are much more active during the night. But during the day, sometimes when it's not too busy and when it's overcast, you will see them doing some hunting. They do catch animals during the day, but most of their animals are caught at night. You can see that the flies are troubling him. So he's going to change the spot again, irritated by the flies. So most of the time you will see him alone because leopards, whether still very young or old, they are solitary. You will see them together only during the mating time, when the mating pair comes together. But apart from that, you'll see them just by themselves. But also females, when they are accompanied by the cubs, is when you can see them walking together. So they are not like the lions, which are always in big prides. So you can see that he is on a lookout. He is spotting something, and I can see there's lots of impalas, but they are on a very long distance, and his focus, I can see, is right there. Maybe I can judge that those impalas, they are just about more than 1,000 meters away from where I am. But for him to get there, it won't take time if he wants to get there. You can hear the woodland kingfisher is making some lovely noise. Paula, the shoulders, they've got to be very much big so that they can support him, because he's got quite a huge responsibility. Yeah, you will see him hunting on the ground, and his hunting strategies are very much lovely because he doesn't want to run. Reason for him to avoid running is because he knows that chasing an animal is tiring, and he knows that after catching an animal, to avoid competition, he must have to take something up into a tree. So he must have to have very strong muscles. You can see those front legs and the back legs, they've got quite a lot of muscles, which helps him in order to climb trees when he's holding a carcass. So these animals, some of them can easily see in colors, and leopards, looking at how their eyes works and how strong, how good their eyes are like, they can be able to detect some of these colors, but not all the colors. They can see better than we do, and they can also hear way much better than we do. Cool breeze. The birds who are just making noise, look at that. Those are just the woodland creatures, and those are not warning calls. When the birds are giving a warning call, you will hear they don't give those kind of calls. These are just territorial calls for these birds, and attractive calls. Birds, they do vocalize in different ways. And don't get surprised, I am not alone at the sighting. There is some other vehicle also enjoying this sighting. Now you can see Hosanna is moving much more towards the western side. So I'm just going to keep following and see if we cannot have another sighting again. Something just frightened him. So there's no need for Hosanna to even display that tail. Look at that. Let's see what he's doing. What is he doing now? You can see he's busy trying to scratch, and he's even sharpening his claws. Look at that. You can see he's sharpening the claws. So those are very good weapons. So now, while I'm following him, let's cross over to Steve and see how he's doing this morning.
Thanks, it is well done again for finding the little chief. Well, we found this beautiful little herd of elephants, a small family, and well, the little youngsters, we'll show you in a minute, are being very naughty. They're running up and down and really trying to show us how big they are and smashing some trees. And then there's Mum, who's just looking at us with a little eye going, those are my kids, stay away. We're going to see if we can get around. I think I had this herd with Trishala the other evening, and she's a very protective mum. She allows us to come close, but she always reminds us of when to stop, which is really nice from a training point of view for the likes of Trishala and Pat and Holly and Jackie, because the behavior that she exhibits, hey, it's okay. This is exactly what we need to train the students about, her behavior. Her head is big and tall, and she basically just told me that, okay, don't come any closer to my youngsters. And now she's going to turn around and start pretending to feed on the grasses. Her tail is getting relaxed again. You see it's whipping rather than being very stiff. But she's looking over her left shoulder towards us, and now she is feeding. But she's actually watching us more than she is eating. She is going to feed because now she's relaxed again. But she's basically just, okay, I'm the only big female in this herd. I need to be extra protective of my young family. While she probably goes on her daily business of maybe trying to find the rest of her sisters or the rest of the breeding herds she's been associated with in the past. It's possible it's just her with her 3 consecutive sort of daughters or sons, hard to say, as she enjoys a little bit of a leadwood tree now. That leadwood is not the biggest of leadwoods, and well, every time an elephant walks past, they seem to be breaking off the branches. But you can see how very relaxed her tail is. That wagging sort of tail is a classic sign of a relaxed elephant. But the fact that she keeps turning right and left like that, looking at us now through the right eye, is an indication that she's still watching us, and we must pay attention to the behavior she's given us, which was a little bit of a warning by moving towards us, as you saw in the there. So now we can go a little bit further forward. I think I'm moving into the thickets. There's a very nice little pan just up ahead that we got another breeding herd of elephants coming towards yesterday to drink and to splash themselves in. In the Masai Mara, and with a lot of the elephants you get here, you don't normally get any reaction out of them. And I'm not saying what we're getting is a negative reaction, but it's important to understand these little subtle signs that elephants put out for you. Because if you don't understand them, as a vehicle-based guide or a person on foot, you can get yourself in trouble at some stage if you don't understand them. They're very subtle signs that an elephant will do. Is everybody got a fright? Well, that's what it's designed to do. An elephant is a very big animal, and when they turn and move towards you by standing tall and lifting their ears out, it's designed to intimidate. That's the whole objective of that behavior. Obviously, we're not trying to press her buttons. We're going to spend some time with her, and she's going to relax. She is quite relaxed now, but it's because she's got 3 youngsters and she's the only adult. She feels the need to be a little bit more protective and also letting us know exactly where the boundary line is with regards to coming closer. If you can see her now, she's very relaxed. If you go quite right up onto her eye, Gert, you'll see, everybody, that her eye is very soft. Eyes are the key ingredient to understanding an elephant's behavior. Often, you can't see the eyes because they are locked or hidden away inside of a bush. But when you can see her eyes, they're very soft. If she was not happy with us, that eye would be blazing wide open. You would even see the whites of the eye. That is something very easily seen in an elephant. Their head will lift up as well. Their body language will change. Their tail will stop moving. And they might even give a head shake towards there. There we go. She just gave us another warning. Basically just saying, okay, you're all in the right spot. We're not moving anymore. Because she said don't do anything more, I'm not going to start or move the car until she moves off again. So very subtle signs that elephants will do. And it's very interesting to be able to spend time and watch because, wow, I just love them. Paimi, that's a really good question. I would assume that stress probably does influence milk production in any animal, really. Elephants generally get stressed in the dry season when water and food availability is not that sort of available. But then elephants tend to, most females, see, she's going to come in and talk to us again now. We're just going to put her on the side. She's just making sure we're keeping out of that sort of comfort zone area of her. Ah, there we go. This is exactly why they are the way they are. She's got really little youngster there, and she's not being aggressive towards us at all. Her youngsters are being a little bit boisterous. I'm just going to go back an inch because one of the youngsters is coming up behind her there, and he's pushing over trees. He's very excitable. His tail is moving quite vigorously from side to side. He's in the bush there. He's being a typical little boisterous boy. But to continue with that question, most elephants will reproduce in the summer months so as to benefit the milk production. Oh, there we go. That's a big brother beating up little brother. Now, to see this behavior in elephants with a baby playing with the other sibling means that the herd itself is completely relaxed. Mum's not giving them any signals of we need to be careful or wary of this vehicle of people here. Basically, and the other one's going to come from the right and throw a stick at us. Here it comes. Oh, hello. I am so vicious. Look how big I am. Look at the exact signs I'm talking about. Look at the tail. The tail is stiff. The head is up. And look how frightening that is. It's obviously a very young elephant. But if that elephant was 5 tons, metric tons, that would be a formidable sort of display with the head shaking. But it's not even it. Maybe a ton. So still a little... I suppose a ton is a small 2,000 pounds, small elephant. But so elephants generally breed in the summer months. So when the vegetation is green, lots of water, that's when milk production's at the best. So they don't get as much stress. But out of season, if they are breeding, they get very, very stressed. And I'm not sure exactly how, but I'm sure, no doubt, it does influence milk production. But anyway, we're going to get around, see if we can get another view of these very boisterous elephants. But in the meantime, Sydney is still with Hosanna.
So you can see that Hosanna is now coming down from the high elevation. He was right on top of the termite mound, and now you can see he's coming down. Maybe his investigation is concluded and he's now about to execute the strategy. So you can see that he's slowly moving down the road. But I'm not seeing anything in front. Maybe because of the height where he was, he could be able to see far. So, but his movement is not telling me that he's up to anything. Yeah, I can see that he's hungry. So, but soon as he picks something, you will see he's going to change the movement, and he's going to start to bend the front legs and go slowly and trying to go down to hide the head. So I'm just going to keep following so that we can have a better visual. David, the leopards, unfortunately, they don't pay any attention to us. Every time we see them, they're just doing their own things. They don't have a problem. If they're hunting, they will carry on hunting. So they don't really get disturbed by our presence at all. So you can see that it's just slowly moving right here on the road. And then there's another vehicle wanting to pass for a chance. Don't get confused if you see them passing by. This is happening now. So you can see that white tip on the tail. That is what they use the most for a non-verbal communication. You can see that now he's looking at something. Look at that. He is approaching something. I can't see what he's seeing, but I can see that somewhere there is something he is up to, and that there is a termite mound right in front of us. He's gonna come out by the other side of the termite mound. So I don't want to disturb anything. I would rather wait until he comes out there somewhere by that termite mound. So I can't see him anymore. So I am obstructed by this termite mound. So now let's cross over back to Steve with the elephants. Oh, he's got the tortoise. You see, he's so hungry. He's licking the tortoise. Look at that. 2 tortoises, I think they were mating. He's trying to catch the tortoise. Look at that. So he just licked all the 2 tortoises who are together at the moment. Maybe they're together for mating and decided to leave them. So unfortunately, the tortoises are not easy. They cannot run fast, but they can just withdraw. And that is how he gave up. He was discouraged by that. He tried to lick both of them. He wanted to taste them. So now let's quickly go back to Steve with some elephants.
Thanks, it is. Well, we're being charged left, right and centre about these little ones. They're being very boisterous and playful. And I'm going to kind of attribute Mum's behaviour to us earlier, in that if you have been a parent out there and you're out with your 3 youngsters that are just messing around and just frustrating you and making lots of noise, then someone else arrives. You give them a look, don't you? Like, oh, I'm so irritated. It's not necessarily with us. It's just with the fact that these youngsters have not stopped playing the entire time, picking up sticks, throwing them around, chasing each other, chasing us, anything that moves really. No doubt any impala or waterbuck that gets in the way will fall victim to these elephants chasing each other. Comes on the right, coming through. He's just smashing through a thorn tree on the right there. He's just having so much fun. This little youngster. Hello, my boy. I'm sorry, folks. I can't help myself but laugh. It's just so comical. Look, hello, you are so dangerous. Yes, you're so dangerous. He's being G'd up on his siblings' activity. They're all, I think the word is, are full of beans this morning. All 3 of them are just running around. See how protective this one is. It's heard it scream, just like any older sibling would do. Why did my younger brother or sister scream? And it comes running in a protective behavior. Look at the head is up. Look how stiff the tail is. That's classic elephant behavior of watch out, I'm watching you. But you should never pay too much attention when it's coming from a youngster. But when it comes from a big adult female, you must be very aware. We've got Mum behind us, who is busy splashing in the puddle. She's got no concern. The youngsters are playing with us. She's quite happy to let them do their thing. Some other form of attention. Some other form of attention other than herself. There we go. I've got my big brother or big brother with me now. Now I'm going to fight. See how the little one has got the same behavior with the stiff tail. The head up, I was talking about that. The head is up, tail stiff. That's classic signs of an elephant that is not in a good mood. But, well, it's just some irate little youngsters. Loads of fun. The bigger one of them is still running around in the background smashing branches. But let's stay with these two because I think they might suddenly get another burst of energy and come towards us. Yeah, I think most certainly, Megs, I think we should invite some more people on board because this is just too precious for words. Mum has finally decided to come and put an end to her youngsters' behavior, and she's now coming between us and them. She's obviously been like, okay, children, I've been playing over here. What have you been up to? She's like, I've go to the bar for 5 minutes, and what do you get up to? Yeah, so she is. See, she's going to come and talk to us again and tell us, okay, these are my kids. Why are you getting them all excited? See how she's just twisting and turning her trunk on us there? The eyes are still very relaxed. Her tail is wagging very, very casually. She's not annoyed at all with us. She's just probably over the kids, you know. She's been away on holiday with the kids, and, well, she wouldn't mind if Auntie or her sister helped in a little bit of the babysitting from time to time. I think many of you out there have probably been through the same experience. When you're just so over children, you wouldn't mind some adult company. So the three of them are still in the background, smashing branches. I'm not going to push forward at all because she's firmly put herself between us and them, which is perfectly fine, perfectly normal. A little youngster there, he's got some funny little wound at the front of its nose. I don't quite know what it is. Almost like a cyst or something that burst. Yeah, there we go. Look at the behavior of the one on the right. Again, the tail and the head. Watch out, branches. The elephant is going to break you down. So it's very important lessons they're going through here. They're learning how to run around. They're learning how to use their strength. Displaying, pushing branches. Look how big I am. Everything runs away from that one. Here, the other one's going to come up behind. Probably going to have a bit of a pushing shove in a second. They're both having a look at us. There we go. There they come. They both look very similar in age. Very similar in age. It's almost like Mum has got one of her sons and either a neighbour or a friend has come to visit for the weekend. And you know sometimes how difficult that can be, because when you've got a son and he's got a friend that comes to visit, there's often a little bit of ego that's playing out, as the one youngster is always trying to compete for Mum's attention in front of their friend to look a bit cool. And I was always this little guy. I was always the younger elephant, always trying to look as cool as my brother. Never really accepted, though. He'd always have a friend and I'd just be the one trying... Oh, he's scratching his bottom. Look, I'm caught in the trees here. This is just too precious. Doesn't know how to go backwards. There's too many branches in the way. This is just too cool. Here we go. Here we go. It's going to come right up to us now. Are you ready? Ravinda, yes indeed. This is the... Did you say something about the trumpet? Sorry, I didn't get the end of that. Look at them. Yes. Yes. I don't know if there's a specific name for the trumpet that the elephant makes, the young elephant, but it is that very low-pitched... almost like a squeaky toy. But Mum is trying to put in some order now. She's pushing her down. She's pushed her down with her tusks. She's basically saying, come on, children. Or move away. She's trying to move her away from her youngster. Saying, hey, don't squash the youngster between me and yourself. And gave her a bit of a tusk in the bottom. So there's probably some... Hello, Mama. You're going to come right up to the bonnet, are you? You're going to come right up and say hello. Now she's thinking. Have a look at the eyes there. The little youngster on the right is swinging. Look at the eyes, are very soft. You see what I mean by soft eyes? The eyes aren't blazing at us. They aren't blazing. You don't see any whites. The eye lens or the lid is quite sort of firmly halfway across the eye. She's said something to them in a sort of frequency we can't hear. And now they're all going to walk off into the thickets. She said, okay, enough playing with the humans, children. Let's go back over there and maybe go find some water. Or no, haven't had enough yet, says the little one. He's going to turn around and come and chase us again. They always feel very powerful when they're close to mum. I've many times had a young elephant launch away from mum and come charging towards you, and then at the last moment it looks back and realizes mum hasn't budged, and then they turn around and almost embarrassingly sort of tuck their tail and run all the way back to their big mum. Well, this is awesome. We're going to go around. They're moving towards the Umlawati drainage, and maybe we'll get them coming into the river again. These are too much fun to be leaving. Well, while we get around and see if we can get back in touch with this very cool sighting of Ellie's, Hosana is on the move. He's sniffing something. I wonder what he's got in his nose.
So Hosana is just now crossed to the other side of the road, so I'm just going to keep following. And then I saw him. He's right here now, passing by to the right-hand side. I think we can see him from here. He is investigating something here. He has been sniffing everywhere, so it looks like there is a scent mark. So I don't know what he is up to, but now so I don't know what Hosana is up to at the moment, because I just saw that he has been investigating for quite a while now, and is just sniffing everywhere and following the scent all the time. You can see there. Now he's looking at something. So the animals, from the smell, they can be able to tell how long the animal was here. You can see again he's sniffing. So let me just pull forward. He's so serious about sniffing here. So we're just going to keep following and see what is going to be the results here. He is not far away from the Galago pen. Maybe slowly he is making his way down there. And this is the area where we saw the elephants this morning. So you can see there he is moving much more towards that side, but he's going in circles. So you can see that his plan is to go down Galago pen, maybe again back to the quarantine area, because I can see that he's just going around, but his focus is on that direction. So he's slowly going there. He's not going straight to the waterhole. He's going in circles, investigating. So you can see that the stomach is so empty. He's so hungry. So he wants to get something maybe before he gets to the waterhole. A cool breeze, Hosana, it can take a couple of days. It can take him 4 days, 5 days. But he's lucky because sometimes he do catch some of these small animals. So it's not all about impalas and the baby nyalas as well as the duikers. Small birds can be caught by these animals. Even insects can also be caught by these kind of cats. So I can see that he is right in the middle of this area, and he is looking at something. I just want to pull forward a little bit so that we can see. I can see now he's coming much more towards this direction right here. So they don't often eat tortoises because the tortoise is one of those animals which are difficult to catch. They can grab them and sometimes just leave them, especially when they're small. But the tortoise that we saw is called a hinge tortoise. A hinge tortoise doesn't grow that big. Sometimes it can fit when the leopard is holding. They can be able to lift them up, catching them from their canines. So, but the leopard tortoise, it can grow very big. So this leopard tortoise can just also withdraw. And the one we saw as well, the hinge tortoise, can also withdraw and hide the head away. And once that happens, so that leopard is not going to get anything. So the shell of the tortoise is so hard. I don't think he's going to enjoy that. He's taking his time. You can see that he's going in circles. He was going that way. Now he's coming back this way. So he's just walking around as if he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know where he's going. I like it too much when he's lifting his head. You can see that he's spotting something from far. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing here. Because the ears, they are telling me that he is listening to something. So he's passing right here. So you can see that his body is growing indeed. So now he's going at the back of the vehicle. I'm going to have to reposition so that we can have him again. So now let's quickly go back to Steve, who's got the elephants.
Yes, we do. Mum Elephant has clearly said something to the youngsters. They've all calmed right down again, and she's been feeding quite nicely on some leadwood trees. And now it's time for a lovely dust bath. Fantastic photography if you can spend time with an elephant doing this. It takes a bit of time to figure out the shutter speed and all of that, but you can do some nice, beautiful photography of the dust flying over the elephant's head. I've managed to do a few of those back in the past. It does take a little bit of practice. So she's now moving back again, now down towards the river. The youngster with the funny little wound on the nose was standing next to her for some time and was investigating that wound almost like a child would pick at a saw. It was turning its trunk around and kept trying to smell and touch and feel that wound on the face. I'm still not quite sure what it is. You quite often will find elephants with sort of big swellings or lumps on their face, which is generally from a splinter or some stick or something that's gotten into the face itself and has caused it to become a very big pussy lesion. But I've never seen something like that on such a young elephant. Gerard said he actually even noticed two similar looking sort of swellings behind one of the ears, which I haven't yet managed to see. But anyway, let's go catch up ahead, see if we can get a little bit closer to this youngster. The other two boisterous boys, well, they're down in the river itself, playing a little bit further away from Mum than she would allow this little youngster to get. But still, she's quite relaxed. We're loving spending time with her. She is obviously keeping her eyes on us. So Megs is asking me why elephants sunbathe, and here she's giving me a little shout. Okay, Mama, I'm going to stop right there. She just shook her head at me, and it is always even little bit more obvious when they do it after dust bathing, because the dust lifts off of the head. So she's told me to stop there, and I will stop right here. So Megs wants to know why they dust bath, and one of the thoughts is to get the dust inside of the cavities of the sort of, here we go, you can see how the dust's coming off of her head. To get the dust inside of the cavities, it might add to some sort of itching, it might cover maybe some scabs, it might also, in the form of mud, might also suffocate some ticks. They seem to thoroughly enjoy it. It is also sort of like a layer of protection against the sun, almost the same as mud. When there's no mud around, elephants will readily sand bath. There's also seemingly lots of minerals within dust that possibly is used or is enjoyed on the skin. It's really not very well known. No one's ever done a census and asked 500 elephants exactly why they dust bath, but it is something that they thoroughly seem to enjoy. And they'll dig with their foot. There, she's busy doing some more digging, is she? No, she's not. I think she's just eating. They'll dig with their foot, pick the dust up, and throw it. All I know is it's often very, very cool to watch and very cool to take photos of. So I don't think they're doing it for our photographic journals. There must be more to it than just a bit of fun. But when you're on foot and you see elephants dust bathing, it's quite nice because you often see the dust moving up and will give you a good sense of wind direction, which is quite handy because when you're walking elephants on foot, you want to know that they cannot smell you. But so you can see her here. She's relaxed. She is watching us. You can see how she's just looking over the shoulder. She just turned towards me there. The tail was wagging quite nicely, and now she's decided to walk downhill. They always seem to run downhill. It's just because their enormous bulk doesn't go down hills very, very slowly. They often will have that sort of head shake from side to side. And we'll just follow her here. The two boisterous boys have gone up ahead. She's coming up behind with her smallest, we're going to call, we almost got a really big pimple on the nose. But for her to be going about her normal behavior, feeding, dust bathing, is a sure sign that she is relaxed. It's just every now and again, if she maybe thinks we're getting too close to the youngster, she might react in a way. Well, the other two are there now. Let's just turn this corner. Okay, there. She's told me not to. Okay, Mama. Okay. Now that is a very interesting sort of behavior that elephants will do. You see how she came towards us there? There was no sound, but she made herself look very, very big. You notice that? And then she stopped at the tree line. Elephants feel quite comfortable inside the bushes. If you ever watch elephants crossing an open plain, in the Kruger Park it is, if they've got youngsters, they often move through it very quickly until they get from the one tree line to the other. And as soon as they get to the other tree line, they get very relaxed, and then they'll stop in that tree line and start feeding again. It's something I saw up in the northern Kruger a lot. They would run from the fever tree forest all the way across an open plain into the croton thicket on the other side. But many times in the past I've been given what we call sort of a warning charge or a mock charge like that, and the elephant will come and it will stop right by the bush. It won't come out of the bush. It will stop at the clearing and it will just stand there and look all brave, because inside the bush they feel quite confident, quite safe. It's uncommon for them to come further than that in any form of sort of warning charge. So she's just basically told us, okay, enough of all of you. Me and my family are going to go off, and they're going to go feeding down in the drainage. So we are going to go all the way up to the Mara, but first we're going to turn around. Let's go back the other way here. David has found a large animal. It is a bird once again. This one cannot fly. It walks on the ground.
Quite away for some time, and I've been trying to look for my favorite pride of lions, the sausages, and haven't been very lucky. And instead of seeing the sausages, I found this huge ostrich, or these huge birds here. It's a male and a female, and initially I thought they were having a bit of a courtship. The female was just spreading her wings out and feathers and doing a little bit of a dance, but the male did not look very interested as yet, and he seems to be moving away in a different direction. The largest birds we got in Africa, they do not fly, but when you see them in the savannah, they're quite majestic, and they're birds that you can always clearly tell the difference between males and females in terms of color. Very straightforward sexual dimorphism, and they could either be feeding on some seeds, flowers, sometimes grass, any small little shrubs they get. But ostriches have also been known to feed on or to pick sand and small pebbles to help them in digestion. Like, most birds, they got a very special stomach called gizzard, and it's very muscular, and because they do not have as much digestive juices there, they'll need the pebbles and the small little pieces of sand to help them in digestion. Pretty fast birds, and I think we've got a lot of farming now is being done all over the world for ostriches. People or the doctors believe they got very low cholesterol in their meat, so very healthy for people. We also got the same farms in Africa. Mario, ostriches, we have always heard rumors that ostriches have been known to use their wings to, beat fire. And like in the villages we come from, ostriches have been claimed if they see fire from a distance and there's some eggs or the chicks just too young, they've been known to run and use their wings, to beat the fire. But above all, I think they'll tend to use their wings and feathers to incubate their eggs in general. That's exactly what they do. Otherwise, that's the only purpose I would say the wings serve to them. But Mario, when it comes to defense, like other birds which may use, of course, wings to fly for safety, ostriches, I'm sure, Mario, they are very fast. They might catch up with a cheetah, maybe sometimes doing about 100, kilometers in an hour. So speed comes out very handy for them when they can't fly like other birds to hide or go to perch on top of trees if there's any concern for their safety. Quite majestic, pretty small heads, but they've been claimed to have very large eyes. I think that's a Thompson gazelle. As she is passing there, there's a Thompson gazelle to the left behind it, and now she's going towards the male. So saying earlier, the sexual dimorphism of ostriches is black and white. So the females being greyish, brown in color, and the males will always be black and white in color. So with the rains going on, definitely they are enjoying a lot of fresh shrubs that have, popped up from the ground, small little flowers that have also popped up from the ground. Bob, very good question. For me, I think an ostrich might outrun a cheetah. The difference here is cheetahs do very short bursts, maybe same speed, but maybe 3 minutes maximum, maybe 4 minutes, that's it. But ostriches have been known to do comfortably about 50 kilometers an hour, non-stop. So, Bob, I would say ostriches could easily outspeed a cheetah. They're fast, and you can imagine their long strides as they move. We'll give you one more look of these ostriches before we move on. But yes, Bob, I would think for me, an ostrich could outrun a cheetah. It may only seem to be like running on a slow motion, but they're very fast birds. So with all the rains going on, it has been an advantage or a plus for everybody or all the animals here in the Mara Triangle. And these ostriches might just spend maybe the rest of the day in this particular area, because you can tell from what they're picking there, they have a lot and enough to eat. See how they look majestic on top of the horizon there. And small little antelopes in the background there are the Thompson gazelles. Great food for cheetahs, Bob, as you are talking about this piece of cheetahs and ostriches. On the cheetahs menu, the Thompson gazelle are like 50% or 60% of what cheetahs go for. They're small, they're tender, and they tend to always go for Thompson gazelles. Park, you'd like to know if ostriches ever stay in groups? Yes, once in a while, but in general you'll see 2 or 3. Unless when they're mating, you might get one male with a couple of females. But it's quite unusual to see them in flocks. You'll only see them in 2s, sometimes in 1s. And Park, I'm sure you can see that when she's opening her wings a little bit, not because it's hot. Sometimes I've got a feeling it's a little display of courtship. You only see ostriches when there are very many, when you get a male and a female with your chicks. You could see sometimes up to 20 chicks with the ostriches. And Thompson gazelles are on the run there. And I don't remember the last time I saw a leopard going for Tommies. They'll always go for bigger things. Not sure what Hosanna is planning to do this morning.
So I'm not sure what Hosanna is up to, because he is leading us down to the drainage line at the moment. It's just about a few meters away from the old dry riverbed. He moved all the way from the western side of the quarantine, but I can promise you he is on a hunting mood. Every time he comes across the termite mound, he climbs, and the termite mound, when he's on the crest, he looks down and he gets interested and come down very fast, and when he gets to the ground he loses interest again. So I'm not too sure what exactly he is up to, but I can promise you here we might see something unexpectedly. Here we might see a kill. Rosinda, let's just wait until Hosanna gets to 4 years and above. There we might hear quite a lot of interesting source from Hosanna. At this stage, he's still very young for that. He's of making those kind of lovely calls. So now he's going down the drainage line. I'm going to have to negotiate here and see how I'm going to see him from the other side. He just went down the drainage line. So now let's quickly go back to Steve, who is just driving.
Thanks, Sidders. Yes, well, keep up with the little chief. We know it can be quite tricky. Well, we happen to be on a road called Nyala Road South, and I really wonder how exactly they came up with that name. I'm not quite sure. I can assume that there might be Nyala in the area that like to frequent where we are. And, well, this is the perfect habitat for the Nyala. Sorry about me releasing the brake there. These are 2 young males, and there is a female off to the left. We're going to see what they're up to, but this is exactly where Nyala like to occur, along these sort of dry riverbeds, or riverbeds in general, where there's sort of quite a dense, thick vegetation, a combination of trees and grasses, where their camouflage helps them to blend right in. You can see with their very selective mouth parts, busy feeding on what seems to be a bush willow. I'm saying from this distance, I think it's a bush willow. Yes, it does look like a red bush willow, right down in the drainage line. So you don't often find red bush willows this low down. They're more commonly found on sort of the top of the slope. But let me just move up a little bit, because you've got some females just over there. Or should I say, a couple females and 1 young male. Tell me when you got him there. Gert, you happy? Always amazes me when you find a group How's that? Sorry, I'm having a technical issue with my audio. I think we're back there. But always amazes me when you find a nyala. If you just spend a couple of moments and look around, they just keep materializing out of the thickets. That camouflage is just so good that unless you actually look very hard, you often will just bypass them. So what we thought was 1 or 2 young males turns out to be a small family group with a female on the left, a little youngster there on the right of her, and another one to the right. Amadeus, they do. They've got such bushy, furry tails. Generally, the primary importance of tails out here with most animals is to shake away the flies. And nyala, as in kudu, have both got quite shaggy tails, and when they run, they turn it upside down, and it flashes this beautiful white, which, well, from behind is quite contrasting, and everybody suggests acts as a follow-me signal, because you can see how quickly she's disappeared into the thickets there. That's exactly what that camouflage is designed to do. And as an evolution adaptation, animals, when they run away, they want to follow each other, because if you all follow me, the leopard or lion is going to catch someone at the back. But if we all run in different directions, we're going to split up, we're going to spread out, and, well, we're all going to get eaten at some point. And here you can see the chocolatey brown of the young male. He's probably in his 2nd year now. He survived the drought on the dry season that has passed. Just see if you can keep your eyes on him. Only when he moves is he visible. So you think very contrasting colors would make him stand out, but in fact, look at that. And that is the habitat that they are designed for, and their strategy, being part of the spiral-horned family or the Tragelaphus family, is to stand very still when threatened, and those little spots on the face, the lines on the body, even the mane of fur on the back, all add in breaking up their 3-dimensional characteristic and blending them into the background. Us, with colour vision, are able to see them if we look closely. There we go. When he comes out in the open, it's much more obvious, isn't he? Tucker, hi, good morning. You want to know if it's legal to eat them? Well, venison is a very popular and common form of enterprise in South Africa, and there are lots of game farms in South Africa that harvest meat. Animals are wild, and they are harvested on those farms for meat production. There are also many hunting farms where animals are actually specifically hunted either for the meat trade or for trophy hunting. And so the meat industry in South Africa is quite a big one. But in a reserve like this one, and in the Greater Kruger National Park, there is no hunting. Every now and again in some reserves there might be a cropping or a harvesting of the animals to reduce their number, because some animals they will overproduce to a certain level where they start to degrade the environment, and us being land managers, we need to maintain that and control that, and sometimes the best way is to remove a portion of animals off the property, and by doing so you can make money out of either selling them to another farm or selling them for meat production. So it is legal. Generally there are permits required for hunting. You can't just run around and kill everything you see, but the meat industry, the venison market, is a very big one in South Africa, and I think there's quite a lot of it that is exported. You saw David there with his ostrich. Well, the ostrich industry in South Africa is enormous. Down in the Southern Cape, just sort of in the Karoo, which is sort of like a semi-desert area, the ostrich industry, not just the feathers but the meat, is a really big industry for that area. And that meat is shipped all over the world, and it is quite a favoured meat among many people. So yes, the meat industry is quite big, and you could call it free range. Oh, the young males are having a bit of argy-bargy, and the youngsters are like, what are you doing? Leave us alone. His lovely long orange socks. There we go, you see the youngsters now. This one in the middle is actually a young male. You can just see the horns coming out, but see how exactly the same in coloration it is to mum on the left. Slowly, as time goes by, once it reaches probably 6 months or so, you'll start seeing that the color will start going to that chocolate brown of the males, but a little bit more camouflaged in sort of this golden orangey color. Just see the horns coming through. You see the line between the eyes and the spots on the face all add into that camouflage we were talking about. Cool breeze, I've never actually seen. Ooh, he's showing a little bit of interest in that female, having a little bit of a sniff. You're a little bit young, boy. Maybe you should. He's just interested. See, he's very interested. I've never seen Cool breeze. I've never seen a nyala fighting off a predator. I have seen Tundi walk directly past a big nyala bull and not even look at him, because the nyala bull, big ones, big fully grown male nyala bulls are very, very big. And, well, quite formidable adversaries. Lions probably have no problem, but generally leopards leave alone the big males. The females are fair game to all the predators, but I've never seen a nyala turn and fight a predator. Invariably, the nyala's strategy is that of the kudu, is that of the bushbuck, is to stay very well camouflaged and concealed, running if need be. So stand very still. If the predator spots you, then run a short distance and then freeze again. They don't have the necessary sort of traits. I suppose they do have the horns, but you see by the females not having horns, their idea is to run and hide from predators rather than to possibly turn them away from their youngster. The general rule is if males and females both have horns, they are invariably an animal that is in the open plains. Ooh, he's having another sniff. Ooh, there's a bit of a phlegm grimace happening there. You see how he lifts his lip to access the Jacobson organ in the top of the mouth, and that is communicating exactly the sexual status of that female. Nyalas and most animals don't have social media. They have to physically go and investigate females to find out exactly whereabouts they are on the dating calendar. And that is portrayed by that phlegm and grimace. And no doubt when there are estrus females around, it gets the testosterone levels up in the boys. And, well, these are still young boys, but they still feel the need to, well, let's get ready to compete, because that will be the order of the day in a few years for the big boys. Because the horns are designed for fighting other males for the right to mate, rather than for defending themselves or even the females against predators. A beautifully relaxed group. It's very interesting to see the difference in the coloration. There we go. He's going to have another little... Let's see if he lifts his lip. No, he didn't give a proper taste. They'll often physically taste the urine before doing that grimace. And what that does is it activates, there's an organ in the top of the mouth, the roof of the mouth, that then sends all sorts of communication signals to the brain. And many animals do it. And we see it very well in buffalo, zebra. There we go. You see he's lifting it now. She's just urinated there. The other one's also going to have a taste. You see how he lifts it up, and all sorts of chemical reactions are taking place in his head. Lions we see doing it often, leopards as well. Okay, well, I don't think we're very close to Sydney, because if we were, we would probably be hearing the shouts of nyala as they spot an approaching cat. But for now, let's go see exactly where Hosana is sneaking off to.
Hosana is now in the middle of the two big drainages. He is taking me for a very difficult 4x4 tour at the moment. So I can see that he is close to a very nice termite mound. Maybe he's going to climb this termite mound and then we can have a good sighting. He has been walking since you have last saw him, non-stop. So it has been a very long distance now. So it's very much thick where we are at the moment, but as I indicated, he is approaching a nice termite mound, and maybe he might take advantage of the high elevation and sit on top to scan the area. MGN, the leopards, they do get, if they go there now in order to catch the swarms. The swarms are those termites who flies. If you can check, in the termite mound, we've got termites that can see and termites which cannot see. So the termites which has got the compound eyes, those ones that normally flies, they also bite, but they don't have mandibular parts. So these kind of cats, they do catch them, and I'm sure they do get beaten sometimes by those kind of insects. But when looking for them on the ground, they can also have problems with the soldier termites. So you can see that positioning. It seems like he picked up something. He's climbing the termite mound, and then we're just gonna pull forward now in order to have a great sighting for you, as now he is very much stable and he is on top of the termite mound. So I can see that he is scanning the area from this termite mound at the moment. So here you can see that he is concentrating, the ears are listening, and the eyes are also concentrating everywhere. So you can see he's standing like the king of the jungle on top of the termite mound. So you can see now he's going down. So I hope he's going to get something today. It's very much rare to follow Hosanna walking for such a long distance like this. So, but the weather is on his favor because it's not hot at the moment and not too warm. It is chilly a little bit this morning. So he's listening to some of the impalas. Karen, this is indeed a phenomenal pose. Look at that. It's unbelievable that Hosanna is just about 2 years going towards 3 years. It's looking very big at the moment. You can hear the woodpeckers are doing their job on the other side here. So the woodpeckers, they go out, they're looking for some worms. So they go and they borrow these trees and get some of the food there. He's not even concentrating on that woodpecker. I don't know. These animals, when they are getting up to 6 or 7 years, you will see that everything is starting to change. You will see the nose starting to get dark, and you will see the dewlap starting to grow bigger. But they are going to just lose their life when they're just between 14 to 17 years. Normally, some they get to 15, but here there is a record that leopards, they do get up to 17 years. So the dewlap is associated with the age as well. So now you can see that it's still very young. So you can see now he is moving on. It's not yet the time for him to relax. So he's still going to go in this area and see if he can find something. And since we have been following, we have never seen no deer, no impalas, nothing. But he can see something forward, and then he's going to investigate. And when we go there, we don't find anything. So you can see now he's trying to sniff the ground, or maybe there's some of the evidence telling him how long the prey was in the area. So some of the animals, when they've got the lamps, they because these big predators can be able to detect some of the meat. You can see that there is something fascinating him on the ground there. So he's moving much more towards the northern side, so I'm going to have to rearrange again and keep following and see where he's going to lead us to. Maybe he might caught something at the end. Yesterday I was convinced enough that he was going to catch something. There was a lot of impalas in the area where he was yesterday. A lot of lambs and also adults and sub-adults. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where David is having some zebras at the moment.
Well, I've seen once in a while big leopards hunting baby zebras. So as much as they are huge and big prey than them, once in a while big males of leopards have been known to bring down zebras and drag them all the way on top of the trees. But these ones would definitely be too big for them, because these are fully grown and they are adults. Well, as much as we say the migration is over, or the wildebeest and zebras are gone back to Tanzania or Serengeti National Park, we'll always have about 4, I would say, to 7% of those animals that will stay back and they will not do the migration. If they tend to lose the head or the bigger part of the big bodies of the migrating animals, and the gap is so huge between them and the head of the group, then they tend to stay back because they are much safer that way. If they go in big groups, they will always feel they can manage to cross all the kilometers between the Mara Triangle and the Serengeti, which is flying there. This is secretary bird, very well done there. Secretary bird, we call them sometimes the hunter bird. That's what secretary translates into, a hunter's bird. And it's one of the most beautiful birds you'll see in Africa. Hunter's bird because of how they hunt, and definitely she is on a mission there. See their long feet, which they use to trample on the rodents or small little mammals when they catch them. She just crossed the road there. I'm trying to imagine maybe the other side of the road has more food for her. Always goes in twos. Michelle, how are you? And how have you been, Michelle? And truly, this is one of the most beautiful birds, Michelle, that we have in the world, I guess, not only in Africa. I've always thought they walk like they're on stratos or they're on high-heeled shoes in those black miniskirts and greyish blouse they got, and all the feathers hanging out there. Apparently, Michelle, I'm sure you know, these birds are closely related to eagles, and I call them ground eagles. And when it comes to eating snakes, I think they do a better job than the snake eagles. I'm talking of how they kill them when they get them, because the snake eagles have to stay on top of trees for quite some time to be able to focus or to catch up with the snake. but these ones, luckily, they just get them very quickly. Michelle, look at that one tail, sticking out on the back, the long elongated tail, like a little twinkle. So the best part of the day they spend on the ground, and I think I want to move on so they can catch up with her a little bit. A male and female, so that one is some of the bats that give you quite a challenge to tell the difference between the male and the female. I think actually that could be the other one there. I don't know how close that is on the camera, but yes, I was saying earlier, they'll always go in twos, and that could be the other one there. So definitely one of them is a male, the other is a female. Sometimes I think the male have slightly bit larger head than the female. And after spending the better part of the day, on the ground feeding, then at night they'll go up, and they tend to choose or prefer tall trees where they roost and where they'll always have their nests. A bit of a scratch there. Could be a little parasite or a little tick that she got, and she keeps moving. Definitely going to catch up with the other one. I've always loved the eyes. You might think they got makeup on the eyes. So they always move with speed, because as they move also that way, they disturb the grass or the ground, and they could have a tendency, or they could be lucky to see something just jump off the ground. And apart from the small little mammals, they go for like rodents, mice and rats. They'll also feed on insects. Talking of grasshoppers, crickets, locusts. Remember, our drives are always very interactive. We love hearing from you with all your questions and comments, like Michelle. Hey, Bakri, you say you love how they walk and how they strut. And that's exactly what I was saying earlier. You might mistake them to have shoes on, And I've always seen like girls when they wear high-heeled shoes, that's exactly how they walk. And I think you're absolutely right. That walking style is very special. And I'm trying to remember if there's any other bird that walks like that. And I do not think so. That could be the only bird that I know that walks like that. So well done, Secretary Bird. Hopefully you're going to catch a lot of food today. And as I said, better part of the day on the ground, come later in the afternoon or in the evening on top of trees where they go to roost. And that's where they'll have their eggs. They don't have as many enemies, these birds. But we have seen their young ones being preyed by. I don't know whether let's see whether she's hunting. We have always seen their young ones being preyed by eagles and other birds. And you see how she kills, or how they kill the prey, by stamping on them. Very difficult to kill the adults of the secretary birds, but the young ones, the young chicks, get preyed by so many other big birds of prey. How beautiful she is, eh? And once they pick something, because they walk very quickly in the grass, they just stamp on it. Rosemary, good question. They're very almost identical, but a few differences would be like, if you look on that feather, on the tail there, the male's one is slightly bit longer than for the female. And also looking on the head, the little crown for the males is also slightly bit larger than the female, but it's always very difficult sometimes to tell them apart, unless maybe when you see them mating. The body in general, if you look, when you compare both of them, the female have a slightly bit bigger body than the male. Very majestic birds. And again, as I said, I only love how the eyes look. It's like they went to a salon and had some nice eyeshadows done, and the red around the eyes. separately. You might think they're different, but they'll always, be together as much as they're like, about 200 meters or so apart. So, very quickly, let's go to Hosanna, who could be looking for some food.
Hosanna is now at the moment trying to focus on a steenbok. I can see that he is slowly moving there. You can see that it's now camouflage. There is a steenbok not very far away here, somewhere in front. And I'm just going to try and reverse because we are in the middle of the wilderness and the bush is so very thick. I don't want to lose this action. I can see that he is moving with all the strength in order to get much closer to this steenbok. Steenbok is right somewhere here, so we might be lucky. It's clearly hunting each other somewhere here. So I've just lost him, but he is somewhere here. Now I can't see where exactly Hosanna is at the moment, but both steenbok and Hosanna, they were right somewhere here in front of us, and they were just behind the thick bushes. Maybe they're still following each other on this direction here, so I'm gonna have to go very quickly and see if we can have a sighting again from this angle. Oh, the steenbok is still here. I can see the steenbok is still here, and he is somewhere maybe here in the area. Let me just pull forward a little bit. Oh, now I can see Hosanna is right here. I can see Hosanna is just there, slowly moving, and the steenbok is not very far. So let's see how he's going to tackle this hunt. I can see that he's slowly moving. So I can see that he's slowly moving, and at the moment he's just hiding behind the bushes. And I'm sure the steenbok has not yet noticed the presence of this big cat. So you can see that he's slowly approaching there, and the steenbok is somewhere there, somewhere in front here. There's the steenbok in front. You can see through the bushes, the steenbok is there in front of him. He might launch a surprise attack at any time here. You can see the steenbok went past him just now. There's the steenbok. You can see that he's right behind the steenbok. And this steenbok is just feeding. You can see through the bushes there. He's trying to negotiate the movement at the moment. So let's see what is going to happen. The steenbok is right there. You can see through the bushes, and I just want to try and move a little bit further. Maybe we might be able to see them much better. So I can see that they are right here. You can see both the steenbok is right in front of him, right there. You can see steenbok is just feeding there, and is not seeing the presence of this big cat at the moment. And he's lying down flat there. Look at that, he's moving a little bit much closer, much closer. I can't see the scrub hair from where I am at the moment, and I'm gonna have to again move further so that we can see what is happening right there. So I can see that they are still following each other. It's just that it is a very difficult sighting because we are right in the middle of the bush. And I can see they are also following each other behind the bushes. And it's a very difficult spot. I don't want to disturb this hunting. You can see he's somewhere there. He's hiding right there. So now that the bush is covering, it is becoming very difficult for us to sometimes see these animals much closer. So I can't see the steenbok anymore. I think he just missed the chance. There was a great opportunity at the beginning for him to take down that steenbok. But now I can see he gave up. Maybe the steenbok managed to pick him up and decided to run away. You can see there he's coming now. He's coming back. So now let's quickly go to David with the hyenas mating. So he is having the hyenas mating right now.
Well, I don't know why Hosanna gave up very quickly, but now we have a male hyena here which is not giving up on copulating or incorporating with a female. This is, I think, my second time or third time in my career to see a hyena. All the hyenas, the females in both, the male sting, the female is more in body than the female. Challenge to see the mate because the female genitalia is more so like a penis, and it has to turn around, or the male has to struggle to get the opening for them to be able to mate. And sometimes, just like dogs, the hyenas take a long time when they're mating. So the good thing is the male is not as heavy, so the female will still be able to bear with the weight of the male. And unlike lions that will mate for a couple of seconds, 20, 40, 50 seconds, they're done, hyenas could go on for lots of minutes. And again, as I say, the challenge is the location of the female's vagina, so the males have as much in the male is also maybe half asleep, and either he was struggling to get in the right position to mate, but I think now he is winning. Very cooperative female, not playing hard to get when like they started. The female just enjoying the view of the savannah, and then this could be the genesis of another generation of hyena cubs. I'm not sure what clan this is. We are very far from the clans we know of. The main clans we know of are three. We have one that we call the North Clan, that we have followed for a very long time, and we also have another clan that we call the Happy Zebra, that we also know very well, and a new clan that we discovered the other day that is called the Olororo. This one, and there are lots of hyenas. Either way, it's quite either swift or swallows just flying over them, not imagining they have an idea of what's happening down there. But yeah, the mating continues, and it might continue for a long time, as I said, unlike for the lions or for leopards or cheetahs, which is always pretty short. And once in a while I've been thinking, as Megan said in the final control, he is having a nap on top of the female, but you can definitely tell they are mating. Paula, good question. You are asking about barbed penis, like we have seen in lions. Not really, because every time you see the mate and once it's over, everybody's happy. The females do not have to turn around to the males. They don't need to bite them, and there's no pain. The male lions are the ones that have barbed, and penis, and as the males are withdrawing from the females, they tend to hurt the vagina of the females, and in that way it's rather painful. Maybe out of the place it's rather painful, and the females will always turn around and try and bite the male because it's hooked and got some spikes which definitely hurt the female as it comes out. For the hyenas, I think it's more straight and it's very smooth, I would say, for lack of a better word, and it does not hurt the female as he withdraws. Well, are you having commercial break there? I'm sure you can clearly see the penis there. Oops. You see Paula? The female just relaxed, happy, and not sure she is doing anything. But if it was a lioness, she'll always turn around and will always want to bite the male because of the pain on the withdrawal of the penis. And you can see close to a screen, and that's the male, pretty looking small. He could be fully grown, but in the hyena kingdom, the females are large in size than the males. That was pretty exciting, very epic. As I say, it could be my third time or so to see hyenas mating in such a long time and not being shy. James, unlike the lions, which maybe will have 4, 5, 6 days of mating, copulating about 30, 40, 50 times in a day, hyenas do not have that order. It depends on the time they want to mate or the decisions that are made by the high-ranking females in the clan. So they don't have a particular, say, breeding season, or they don't have an order of mating like lions, where you get them pulling out of the pride and spending a couple of days mating. It's any time, and when the females are fertile, that's when they end up mating. But unlike the lions, they will be a little bit different from that. Very good. That was pretty exciting to see in the morning, eh? It's just 2 hyenas mating, and these are the spotted hyenas. That was quite a show, eh? Well, I do not remember the frequency of how many times they would mate. Unlike the lions, we'll always have an idea every couple of minutes. If they're just starting the mating, they'll go into it again. Hyenas might not be that. And the male moves away, maybe not interested anymore. His turn is over. I'm not sure that's how you behave, Mr. Hyena. But the female is just following trail and trying to catch up with the smaller male in body. Gary, what should happen is hyenas are very matriarchal, and it's the females that will decide which males they will mate with. So the very high-ranking ones will maybe look for males that are also equally high-ranking to be able to mate with. The males in general do not have much of a choice when it comes to mating. So I'm imagining this female made the decision and knew which males to mate with. But having said that, I don't know why the male is on the run and, just not interested and going a different direction. But the female is not letting go. Are you tired, Mr. Hyena? Well, the female is catching up with you. He seems much faster than the female, but I'm sure at one point, most likely they'll be together. And they're heading towards the direction of the Olorol escarpment. And that's the escarpment you see in the background there. And I want to say that mating has made my day. Well, that was pretty cool, and let's go back to South Africa and find out what Steve is up to on his driving.
Well, David, I wonder if you narrated the hyena mating the same way you did the monitor lizard mating all those months back. I'm still in tears and stitches at your narration of it that day. We've got our own little animal. There's a steenbok. I've never seen hyenas mating before, so what a marvelous thing to witness. And Megan was telling me it looked like one of the individuals was falling asleep on the back. I've never seen it before, so very interesting. I suppose the easiest way to identify male and female hyena is to see their mate, I suppose. That was a female steenbok. She's run off. I don't think we're too close to where Hosana is, but we're still keeping our eyes open. This is an area that Thandi likes to frequent. Many times we've had her here, and this is Deka and steenbok sort of terrain. The Umawati drainage is just down on the side here, where Tlalamba, the princess, was born. And wouldn't it be lovely to see either one of them today? I haven't seen either of them in so long. I'm so looking forward to seeing how much that little girl has grown. I mean, she's over a year now, a year and a month. So last time I saw her was in September. So it's not only Steenbok and Dacre that form the food of our leopard. There's some impala in here and a little scrub hare that was moving in the daytime. Be careful, little scrub hare. You will get snacked. And well, just like that, almost as camouflaged as the Nyala were, the scrub hare. And you get it there, Gert. Just on that little game path, standing very still, hoping it hasn't been spotted. But, well, a little scrubby, you've been spotted by us. Interesting that it's moving at this time of day. Generally nocturnal, spending the evenings out feeding on grass, and then at the night, the daytime, just hiding away. Anyway, we continue down here. There are some impala through the thickets there, but we're listening for alarm calls, any sort of scent of sort of alertness to any form of predator, because that is often how we find them, because conditions make tracking quite difficult at the moment. Just to catch up with Hosana, who seems like he's done with his morning stroll.
Hosana has just missed an opportunity to take down a Steenbok, and now he looks very tired on top of the termite mound, but still forcing, as I can see that he is not settled. He's still listening and watching to what is happening in the area. So if I was Hosana, I was not going to miss that opportunity we saw earlier when he was too close to that Steenbok. I thought he was going to launch a surprise attack, and he just didn't. So now you can see that he's tired. He walked for a very long distance. You can see that his positioning, if you look at the necklace, is nice and clear when he's sitting like this. You can see it nicely. Maybe some of the parasites are troubling him there. So when he is licking himself like that, sometimes he does ingest some of the hairs from the body, because the tongue is so coarse and it has got some barbs which helps them to take things down to the stomach. And those kind of hairs, sometimes when they're dead from the body, when he's grooming, can be able to swallow them. And those are some of the things which consist the hair balls. Alarmo, indeed, he is looking very wriggly. You can see that he best. If he's not going to catch now during the show, he might maybe any time during the. And he's so very lucky because the other squirrels and the birds are not giving any alarm call about his presence. You can see how he's lifting his hind leg at the back. So this is of changes on him. So, but if you look at his face, you will see that he doesn't have quite a lot of scars. Yesterday, I have noticed just one scar when the camera was very close. So now you can see that he is moving away. Maybe he is going to be resting. He might find a very nice spot to rest for this afternoon. And I would like to take this time and apologize on behalf of the team due to quite a lot of network problems. The bush, when it's recovering in the wilderness, these problems do occur. So you can see that now he's not showing a lot of strength when he's walking, but you can see there now that he's looking at something. Maybe he has spotted something again. So I'm just going to move forward and see if we can develop this sighting. As I can see now that he is moving away from us. I don't want to lose him. So at least now it's becoming much better. It's getting much more open here where we are. If there is any prey animal in front of him, the possibilities for a better sighting are very much high. Oh, he's drinking by one of the potholes. You can see he's right here. He was just having something to drink. So you can see that now he is up and running again and is showing his strength. He's not looking tired anymore. Maybe he's now racking his brain about Fuma is true. Hosana is getting very clever all the time, and you can see that he has learned a lot. Even his hunting strategies has improved. So you can see that he's looking very confused, because I saw that he was concentrating on something on the left at the beginning, and now there's something he had on the right. So now he's going right to a very big opening where if there is any of the prey, he won't be able to get camouflage there. So now let's quickly go to Steve, who's got the tortoise. Maybe it's the leopard tortoise.
Yes, well, it is. It is. Well done. We have managed to find our own leopard this morning. And, well, we don't want to be out-competed or outdone by either the man with the leopard or the man with the mating hyena, David Gitu and Sydney. But what we have got is two leopard tortoises, which appear to be, one in the front is much bigger than the one behind. And, well, there seems to be a little bit of a love track in the background, a little bit of Barry White playing off in the distance. And maybe there is some intimacy imminent. Unfortunately, tortoises are not the fastest moving of animals, so when it comes to pulling any moves, it generally takes a little bit of time. But we're going to sit here and see if any action unfolds. but it might take a moment. Okay, ready when you are, chaps? Yes, Amber, it is indeed the time of mating and the breeding season. The birds are calling and singing their tune, and the tortoises are, well, sitting in the grass, doing not too much. It is a slow dance, Mario, indeed. Very slow dance. The mating of tortoises can be quite interesting, and it's the reason why the underside of a male tortoise is a bit concave, allowing him to put his belly onto the back or onto the shell of the female to facilitate mating. And then it is a very slow process whereby the tortoise looks like it's actually going to have a heart attack, with a vein popping out of the side of its neck as it makes a very strange sound that Gert and I were both mimicking a moment ago, but are going to spare all of you the sound effects from my own microphone and only show it to you if the tortoises happen to do it themselves. So for most animals, tortoises included, this is the time of plenty, lots of vegetation and moisture around, and it is the time also when tortoises that have been hiding away in the winter months decide to come out and show themselves. And, well, all sorts of smells and pheromones attract them to each other. Carol, most certainly size difference indicates age, and each of those sort of hexagons, whatever you might call the shape, but each of those sort of what we call scoots have got a specific number of ridges, up and down ridges, which will indicate age if you happen to go and count them. It's a seasonal growth, and as those grow, so does the entire shell of the tortoise, and so over time, size is a general indicator of age, and if you calibrate it, you could probably work out a very specific age by just looking at the size of an animal, but you'd have to count it and work out over a number of them how many ridges they had on the scoots, and that you'd be able to work out an estimated age. But the one in the front is much bigger, which means much older than one at the back. But there's not too much in the way of age differentiation between tortoises when it comes to mating. It's just the problem being, is he going to be big enough to get around her much larger shell? Obviously, the shell is not pliable, it's not movable. It's not like domestic dogs that you can get a smaller dog can bite a larger dog on the ankles to get it to lie down, for example, to facilitate mating. Tortoises, well, he's either going to be big enough or he's not. Kopel, well, if you were watching the show earlier, Hosana walked up to tortoise and licked it on his back. Hyena are known to break open the shells. We've had the Nkuhuma pride on the property killing a tortoise or two in our time here, but very tricky for them to do so because the shell's very hard and they don't necessarily have the right biting force. But southern ground hornbills are well renowned for killing tortoises, and once they get to this sort of age, that big one on the right, they're generally pretty much safe for most animals, even I suppose the strong jaws of a hyena, because they just can't really get around it. The ground hornbills are very big predators for the smaller tortoises, and even the medium-sized ones, being able to sort of grab them and pull them out of the shell with their very strong and narrow beak. It's able to go into the crevices that other animals are not able to. Well, from very slow-moving leopards
So you can see that Hosana is just now moving, and he's moving again much more towards one of the drainage lines. Maybe he's going to go in there, or else he might walk just parallel to the drainage line in order to cross, as he's not very far away from the border between us and the Buffalo's Hook. So he's just heading much more towards that direction. So maybe he might be lucky and catch something before going to Buffalo's Hook. But now I can estimate that the gap between where he is and Buffalo's Hook is just about less than 200 meters. But in these 200 meters, he is interested on something. So the problem will be the francolins are starting to give happening in the surrounding. So those are the things which might jeopardize his chances of stalking something which is in front. I can't see what he's seeing, but I can see that he is seeing something in front. Maybe it's the impalas. So you can see that he's slowly moving. So maybe we might find him here during the afternoon. And please don't forget that this afternoon is going to be a very big day again. We will be back on SABC3 live, giving you what he's going to be doing. Maybe he's going to continue hunting. And thank you very, very much for all your questions and comments. It has been a privilege having you as part of our guest this afternoon, and thank you very, very much for all your questions and comments. Let's meet again in the afternoon.